We want to talk about Canada and some of the things that you probably should know before you actually go to Canada yourself, if you plan to go. Welcome to Tigner Adventures. We are in the USA. We have returned from Canada, and guess what? We want to thank those that are buying us coffees. We are having a cup of coffee today, so thanks to those of you that support our channel in that method. There's lots of ways you can support us. I mean, there's just liking our videos is always nice, or subscribing to our channel. We do appreciate that too. But, actually, and sharing our videos with other people. We had a lot of fun, as you know, those of you that have been watching our videos can tell. You know, we have had a lot of fun throughout our whole time in Canada. If you look up here in the top left here, or in our comments below, we have a playlist with a lot of videos on them of our Canadian trip. We definitely would, encourage people to go to Canada, but there are some things that you need to be aware of. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to talk about is the border crossing. Had to think there for a minute.
Don't be scared of the border crossing.
Don't be scared, yeah, because what was the thing? I mean, every time we asked all our friends, they said what?
They sent us to this site, which is terrible, because every border crossing is different.
Yeah.
So
they do have, you can go to the Canadian, it's a government site, so. But, we went there and we started looking through things, and all it was a circle. We just kept you click on this and you go over here. You click here and you're back over here.
Don't you just have a list of things not to have? And
the number one things, no weapons, no guns, no ammo, no mace. Anything that can be used as a weapon is not allowed. So the other thing they asked us is about liquor. And
the alcohol going into Canada is more counted, because if you've got cases and cases of alcohol, that's different.
A lot of people said you couldn't take vegetables.
Yeah.
So the first time we didn't, and that hurt a lot.
Because the vegetables are kind of expensive there.
Very expensive. So. But the second time we went across, we said, we have all these different things, and they said they didn't even care.
Yeah, we just got back in the United States, and we were like, oh, yay, vegetables. And so we got all these vegetables, and it's like, we're going back into Canada.
Yeah, we went over on Vancouver Island.
And I said, I'm so sorry, we have every vegetable there is. And they go, go ahead. But then coming back in the United States, it's harder with the vegetables and eggs and,
They took all our eggs.
Yes.
They said no fresh eggs. If we would have boiled the eggs ahead of time, then we could have brought them back.
We did boil them one time. They didn't care.
Yeah, well, they had the time going across them. They didn't care about eggs. So you just sometimes, and we got searched going from the U.S. to the U.S. each time. We got searched both times coming back into the U.S. Boy, I'll tell you, they wanted to search the whole car. It took us a half an hour to get through the customs to come back into the U.S. If you don't know our trip, we actually went up to through Manitoba, all around. So that's where we went in once. We came down in Idaho, across Washington, went across over to Vancouver Island, and then back over again. So we came into the U.S. twice. We went into Canada twice. The other thing is that you should for sure have rabies shots for your animals. Yes. But as far as anything else, they didn't seem to even, they never did check, and they didn't seem to care. So in Canada, everything is in metric. One of the things that we found out with metric is the speed limit.
Speed limit.
Wow,
so you go 100 miles an hour?
So 100 kilometers per hour actually relates to about 62 miles per hour in U.S. terms, or non-metric terms. And so it's nice that we had our trip planning software that actually converted that, because if you look on your speedometer, it has those metric things really small when you're driving and you're 3 feet back from it and you have bifocals, and it's like, I can't read those little numbers sometimes. So that was kind of a hassle, but at least the trip planning software put it up there, nice big numbers, so I could follow that pretty easily. The second thing we ran into is gas or diesel, is that it's all based on liters. basically 3.8 liters per gallon. It's like, I think it's 7, 8. And it's kind of interesting when we're in Canada and we said how many liters per gallon, it gave us one answer. And when we came into the US and said how many liters per gallon, it gave us a different answer. So it was off by a point, like 1 or 2 differences. And I don't know why that was. So you got to multiply that by that 3.8 to get the actual gallons that you're going to actually use. Now, the price is going to be pretty high, but that kind of brings us to the next thing, really.
We get a 25% discount when we go to.
I have this on my phone. I could see exactly what the translation was between the American dollar and the Canadian dollar. And so we do that, and plus when we were shopping, then I had this calculator, we could put different prices in, it would show us. But for the most part, it was a 25% discount.
Yeah, around there.
So, which is great for us. It's really bad for Canadians and our Canadian friends. Yeah, our Canadian friends really have it difficult, especially when they come to the U.S.
Some of our food is a lot cheaper than theirs, and our liquor.
So speaking of the differences between the Canadian dollar and the U.S. dollar, we had people suggested that we pick up a number of dollars of Canadian in the U.S. before we went into Canada. And so from one of our videos, you'll notice that we stopped at a little town in North Dakota, just before we crossed the border into Manitoba, took $500 cash, and we got Canadian instead. We probably used about $40 of Canadian cash the whole time that we were in Canada. So it is nice to have a little bit of, Canadian cash, but I think that it's actually cheaper probably just to get it out of an ATM in Canada when you're there and if you need it, because most places, 99.9% of the places, we used a credit card everywhere.
Even some of the dump sites that needed
cash. The dump sites, they wanted, loonies and toonies and woonies. They were like quarters and dollars, $2 things or whatever. I can't remember how that actually related. We had someone explained it to us, but we had this change that we had to figure out. But you could just get an ATM, go to the ATM, get cash out, and be safe that way. What we found out is that if you can go with a bank that has no international fees, okay, not all of them do. So U.S. Navy Credit Union is one we belong to, and they had no international fees. And so we didn't have to pay any extra fees. We could do ATMs, we could do all this stuff. We had no issues. But also Apple Pay did not charge us any international fees. So we used Apple Pay because Costco's in Canada only take MasterCharge. The only MasterCharge we even have is our Apple Pay. So international fees you got to worry about, and the conversion. So it's almost cheaper, I think, really, if you need cash, go get $20 out of the ATM or $50 or whatever. But carrying a lot of Canadian cash did not, really benefit us at all. Now let's talk about cell phone coverage.
Connectivity.
So for us, we have AT&T and we have Verizon. Now Verizon, I couldn't find out exactly how much that's going to cost to use that in Canada, but from what I found, and it could just be the account that we had, it was $10 a day while we were in Canada. Now I don't know if that's true. I just turned off Verizon and we didn't even use it all. We've had friends that had Verizon and they were supposed to get service and then they didn't, and they had to go through a lot of things. They had Google phone, they had issues, so I think you just never know. I know that AT&T says they will go anywhere. Our AT&T worked the whole time, and for the most part we had pretty good data coverage most of the time, and they seemed to work pretty good for us. So we were glad that we had the AT&T, and that's all we used the whole time that we were there. And we had friends there that we met that had Starlink, so they had the satellite thing. There is so many trees. We had to use our generator a number of times because the tree coverage, the shade, we just had shade all the time. We didn't get sun.
It's nice
and
and
they
cool.
really struggled, especially around Banff. They really struggled with their satellite service. And so most of the time they were using cellular service also. We only had a couple places where we had absolute no service on AT&T, but we were only there for a couple nights or something, and it wasn't a big deal. And that was basically up above Banff, north of Banff. We did some boondocking, and that area had no cell coverage at all. The little area between Banff and Jasper has no cell service at all. But other than that, we were pretty good. And so I'm pretty happy with that.
Download your maps.
You definitely want to download your maps with whatever software you have if it gives you the ability. Very few that give you the ability to download your maps, but if that's how you're getting around, you really want to look into that the best you can, because there's times when you're going to go in and out, and if you aren't already on your trip, then you are not going to be able to know where the next turn is. So it's good to pay attention to that ahead of time. So whatever software you're using, we like TripWizard by RV Life. It does allow you to download all your maps, and it worked really good the whole time we were there, because some of them would translate miles per hour, but then they would, they say this is how fast you're supposed to be going, for example, 62, but then it would say you've got 150 kilometers more to go. And it's like, well, why didn't you transfer that into US 2? Because now I don't even know how far I got to go, So anyway, we didn't have any issues with TripWizard. We've been very, very happy with that software. So we can't say enough about that. And that's why we represent them and we're affiliates of them. You get a 25% discount if you use our code, Tigner25. And because of that, they've always taken care of us, and we're pretty happy with their software. So, but anyway, with that said, the cell service, just beware that there could be some issues. So one of the things that really people go to Canada to do is see their national parks. So when you want to make reservations to go to these places, you got to be right on top of things, I'll tell you. The thing is, create the account, go in and try to make a reservation. It's going to say, you can't make it until this date. Put that on your calendar and the time and what it is, Mountain Standard Time, Eastern Time, whatever, and then that's when you want to be in there. By the time I got in Banff, you can see right here. Whoa!
You woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be the first one.
Oh my heck. And I had 2 computers going, and I had everything laid out ahead of me.
Everything went down.
And everything just shut off right before I did it and kicked me all out, and then I had to start all over.
Panic.
I hadn't created an account yet, so that created issues. We were so far up there, I didn't think we were going to even get in. But by the time we did, it was like...
It was like 20, 30 minutes,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it says you are in the queue. We'll
like,
let you know. So I'm just waiting. It says, okay, you're ready. It's like, wow. And then I went into Tunnel Mountain, which is right there in Banff. There's a lot of openings still, and there was a lot of openings up in Lake Louise, where we stayed a week. July and August are their busiest times.
Be careful with July 1st and July 4th for the United States, because those two are the biggest thing there.
They're their main
so
holidays.
Whatever you're doing, everybody's going to be there.
Yeah.
Celebrating. So.
And the same way with, it's something with like I don't know, it's like the first weekend of the year, but July 1st is always Canada Day. But we also ran into the same kind of issue like August 7th, I think it was, which is a long weekend that Canadians have, and that everyone goes out that weekend. So everything filled up on those weekends right away. When you actually make those reservations, you get charged a fee. So they charged $8. But the other issue we had is we didn't plan very well. We kept changing our mind. Remember, our trip software allows us to change our mind all the time. So we kept changing our mind. So every time we went in to make, to add days or whatever, then we got an $8 charge, for making the change. We didn't have to, we never ever had to pay a penalty per se for making those changes. But there was several times, for example, at Tunnel Mountain in Banff, I added several days there. And I think even in Lake Louise, we added some more days. So I kept adding days, going back and adding some more, and the hardest issue was the weekends.
Really good, because really to hit that area, you need time, at least a couple weeks. And there's one more thing you need to know about Banff and Lake Louise and Lake Moraine. Anyway, those 2 lakes are those most popular turquoise lakes that you're going to see. So if you're right there in Lake Louise, which is a ski town, you have to get shuttle passes.
I think they go on sale about the same time as the campgrounds, and you can get the shuttle passes because a lot of them are reserved. And when we went in to get our passes, they were all sold out, right? The only thing that was left is last minutes.
We didn't know.
So last minutes, all we started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the first...
For the next day.
For the next day, how many ever could get in at 8 o'clock, could reserve something. And if you're planning to do a weekend, there's no way.
Yeah.
The problem with reservations, of course, is, our Canadian trip this year is the most we've ever stayed in campgrounds or RV resorts. The most reservations we've ever had in the 6 years we've been canyoneering. I'm sure.
Canyoneering.
6 years we've been RVing, have never made this many reservations. And that's because it's Canada.
There's always change.
We don't know how everything works particularly.
At first it was on fire and we were like, oh my gosh,
if you're going to drive all that way, you want to make sure that you're going to get in and be able to have a place. So that's why we made all those reservations. And we typically used either the parks that showed up under TripWizard or the things that showed up under Campinium. Those are the two apps that we used to figure out where we wanted to stay.
When you are in the town of Banff, they have shuttles going from the campsite right into town. That's what you need to know. They were $2 a day.
That's true. There was a fee.
$2 or something like that, but very cheap.
We drove in and parked for free and then walked, but that was a lot of walking. When we pulled up on the highway to go into the park, we said we're going to be at these different places. Well, all of those are in the park, and so that meant we were going to be in the park. If you're more than a day or two in the park, you might as well just buy their yearly pass. Much cheaper just to get the actual family season pass, and it's good for a year. So depending on when we go back, we may still be able to use it. If not, then we'll just up it for another year. But there was a lot of benefits to having that family season pass, which is a little bit more than buying two individual senior passes. The family pass also got you into Cave and Basin for free, where the other passes don't carry that same kind of clout. So our thumbnail said, beware of the people. So what do you need to beware of? Well, they are super nice.
Yeah, they're very nice. Very nice people. We will go back and we'll have fun again.
Well, and the interesting thing was, we ran into nice people no matter where we were.
Yeah.
Now in Yuma, we have met a lot of Canadians, and we got to go visit a number of those while we were in Canada.
25.
And we had a lot of fun with those friends that we have.
And they made us feel so special.
Yeah.
Our first time in Canada, we'll never have that again, and it was just very, very wonderful.
It was great, and they were great. But it's not just them. Everybody was super nice to us, because even on Canada Day, July 1st, when we were going up to Johnston Falls, I mean, that place was packed.
And we didn't know that was different.
Yeah,
we
thought that was just normal
popular.
Because everyone, as we'd go along, people would be trying to take pictures. We'd offer to take their pictures. We'd stop and talk to them. We just made little comments to people or walk along, and we just had a great time with everybody.
That's
all
where
kinds
we
of
found
nationalities.
Out that we were the foreigners.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, what foreigners
here? Yeah. In the U.S., we never think about this, but you're always thinking about, there's a lot of, like, for example, in Zion National Park. Well, in Zion, there are a lot of visitors, international visitors, and so
Europe.
We're saying there's a lot of foreigners here. Not a bad thing. We think that's great. We think it's sad that the U.S. people aren't taking advantage of it. But the bottom line is, it's a lot of international people. Well, when you're in Canada, you're the foreigner. You're the international person visiting them, because the majority of those people, or a large majority, actually live in Canada. Yeah. We met people from Toronto, so far away, clear over from the east coming over, but they all live there. That's a very diverse area, but super nice people. We met people from all kinds of different nationalities, and every one of them were super nice to us. And we would say everybody really needs to go to Canada at least once in your life.
We die before next year. We've had the most wonderful trip.
Yeah, it was really good.
Set.
And we really appreciate you guys going along with us. We did quite a few videos on Canada, and we appreciate you guys watching those videos and things, and hopefully you learned something from that and from today's video. We appreciate you coming along. So again, we like our supporters that bought us a cup of coffee today. We do appreciate that. But as far as doing this, we love doing this and answering questions. So please make comments down below. You look in the description. We've got our playlist down there. We've got other things that will you can check out and things like that. Where our main website is too. You can get set up there and look at some of the things that we've got going on there. But overall, we could not do this without you guys. Well, thanks for coming along. We'll see you down the road somewhere, so take care.
Bye.